Can you hear me pouring beer?
No, I don't know. I can't hear anything. All right, I'm recording anyways, but I'll record real quick. So here we go. All right, welcome to Beer Fish Fanatics, and this episode is actually brought to you by Whisker Seeker Tackle.
Oh shit!
Yeah. Here, we'll do it again. Here, we'll do it again.
Hey, we can always just cut it in there.
Yeah, well, it's kind
It
of
doesn't
weird.
have to be one take.
True, but it's kind of weird. We'll do it real quick. Because you can just cut this part off anyway when you put it on. All right. Thank you for joining us at Beer Fish Fanatics. And this episode is actually brought to you by Whisker Seeker Tackle.
So make sure you guys go to whiskerseeker.com for all your catfishing gear.
Enjoy the episode, guys. Grab your beers, get it ready. You guys ready to rock and roll?
Ready, everything.
Ready to rock and roll.
All right, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Beer Fish Fanatics. This is Grandy with Mapa Fishing. We got
Kit with the Fishing Kit YouTube channel.
And today we have Mr. Clayton Godfrey. He's the owner of Fishing Assault. We've been wanting to get you on here for a while, but I know you've been really busy and everything. So this is kind of cool because we were just talking offline a minute ago, and he's going to be showing us some cool ass stuff about his products and everything. Thank you so much, Clayton, for joining us, sir.
Thanks for having us, guys.
Awesome. And today, I was talking to Kit earlier. I didn't tell you this, Clayton, but my dumb ass dropped a beer in the kitchen, and you know when you drop it and it goes psh, and it shoots everywhere.
Sure.
So I dropped the Kalona Brewing Company UBU. So I was able to at least save about 3/4 of it. So
Salvage a little bit. There you go.
I salvaged it. So it's in the cup. I'm drinking that. What do you got, Kit?
I got the Hot Mess Double IPA from Kalona Brewing. And quick shout out to River Certified real quick. So if you guys want to check out another good podcast, go check that one out. He didn't pay me, I'm just giving the friend a shout out. That's
all. We were actually on that podcast. So I don't know if the episode's out yet or not. So make sure you guys do check that out. So
it's coming up. It's coming up.
Nice. Clayton, what are you drinking, sir?
I got a Lake Time Brewery, Tommy Taiwan on Thai peanut butter porter. So
ooh, nice.
I'm all about supporting our local breweries. So
exactly.
Right.
We love our Iowa breweries. So thank you so much, Kalona. Thank you so much, Lake Time. Cheers, gentlemen.
Cheers.
Oh yeah. Thank goodness I saved this Imperial Stout. It's one of the better ones, I'm telling you. Even though it's 10%, so it's all good.
My brother likes that one too. So
there you go. Good. So just so everybody's wondering, Clayton, like I said, he's the owner of Fishing Assault, and he does a lot of the plastics in regards to fishing custom lures and everything. And we wanted to get him on because number one, Fishing Kit and myself, we never seen the process. We don't really understand and know the process. We just know how to use it. Well, at least Fishing Kit does. I just pretend I know how to use it. But we wanted to get more information from Clayton and just understanding him, and then also understanding the business, how he got into it, all that good stuff, man. So if you don't mind, Clayton, can you just tell us a little about you and Fishing
Sure.
Assault?
So Fishing Assault was kind of an opportunity that presented itself back in 2018. It was an opportunity that I ended up buying into the company. It was only a few months old, and the individual that owned it was in the infancy stages. So we met up with him, and we made the commitment to purchase, and we acquired 100% assets of the website, domain, all the fun stuff that I had no knowledge about. I looked at the fishing opportunity as being able to make different bait profiles was a pretty neat opportunity. But I started with my 12-year-old son. So we went up and we looked at the business, and we decided, this was a great opportunity we acquired. And from then on, we've been making all the different types of baits, different colors. We've generated some pretty neat profiles, custom colors that are unique to our fishing here in Iowa, but also making up some custom colors for folks up in Minnesota. And we're currently in a magnitude of different bait shops across the Midwest. Always trying to pick up new shops along the way. But it's been kind of a passion that was was built out of the love for fishing, but also to show my son that we could do something if you put your mind to it and build a company that you can be proud of. So, and then Kendra, who is my better half, who does a lot of the behind the scenes stuff as far as the packaging. She also does a lot of our media profile engagements, naming of all of our products, different colors, things like that. So she does a great job, and I think she does probably more than I do. I do the easy, fun stuff. So
shout out to Kendra. She does. You're right. She does. She's awesome, man. So if anybody gets a chance to meet her, because I think you guys do quite a bit of shows and everything, trade shows and stuff. So get it.
Yeah, we're going to actually be up at the Polk City's Farmers Market again this year. So Kendra brings up all of our apparel. She prints all of our own apparel for us. We do a process called dye sublimation. So just as you can see here, these are some of the types of things that we do. So it never fades, it never washes out. It's a dry fit kind of moisture wicking athletic type product. So it's great for fishing. So, and it's married very well with our company and kind of the business model where, not only are we building a brand, but we also, as far as fishing gear, we also have the apparel, which doesn't necessarily scream fishing. So we have a lot of people that follow us in that regard as well. So
cool.
Man, yeah, it's like the definition of a family-owned business right there.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Very much so. But I'd have to say that along this journey that we have kind of stumbled across, we've met some pretty phenomenal people, and it's been a blessing to meet folks and be able to kind of get to know the fishing community a little bit more intimately, primarily with the different, groups that we sponsor and we donate products to. There's a kids youth fishing tournament that happens down in Kirksville, Missouri. I think they're going on their 38th year. We usually donate product to them so that every kid gets a bag of bait to fish for free, just to kind of help show our support to the community, but also get our name out there. That's what it's kind of all about. So we've had the opportunity to fish with Kit, so in ice fishing, which was a good time when we were up at Clear Lake. But
yeah.
So
yeah, that was pretty fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. So, but as far as the operation goes, we have kind of developed some customized plastics that I shoot exclusively just for fishing assault, which I think allows us a little bit better advantage in the marketplace, primarily in the fact that all of our plastics not only are infused with JB's fish sauce, and I know that you guys had done a podcast with Corey Weaver, which is another co-owner of JB's fish sauce. We have an exclusive line that's designed specifically for fishing assault. It's called Assault Sauce, and it's JB's products. But all of our plastics are infused with that. But like I was saying, with the types of plastics that we use, they offer a perfect amount of flexibility, but they don't sacrifice on durability. So I think a lot of folks that fish, especially in the ice fishing time, that's one thing that they've always given us a lot of kudos for, is that the durability of the plastic, they can get right back on top of the fish quickly, and it's not for lack of motion. The bait still has a fluid motion to it, looks very natural, and definitely increases hook set ratios. So,
can you talk about like where do you get your ideas for like what profile or what colors or what scents when it all comes to these baits that you make?
So that's a great question. Obviously you're dealing with a magnitude of different options. So, when we start looking at recipes for our different color combinations, it's a lot of trial and error. We've got some field reps that we put bait in their hands and let them test it for us. And it gives us an opportunity where we can get some positive criticism or negative criticism based off of the success of that color presentation. But really what it comes down to is listening to what fishermen want and trying to envision what they're looking for and making a product that's superior against what you could find in a big box chain store. We also do some stuff where we'll go in and look at some of the bigger companies and say, they've got big research and design techs or dollars that they can look into these products that are working well, color choices, things like that. And not that we're stealing that, but we can try to emulate that in some capacity so that we're not too far off in left field. So, but once again, as far as the amount of colors that we have, you can kind of get a scale of all of the different color choices, and it's infinite as far as what we have available to us.
Yeah. So just so our listeners can know what Clayton's doing. He's just kind of showing us the whole background of his facility there, of all the colors that they mix and do all their plastics with. So that's pretty cool.
And then we have multiple different types of glitter or fleck presentations that we can do. From micro fine glitter all the way up to big chunky fleck that sometimes goes into your larger bait profiles. And once again, to answer your question, Kit, a lot of it's just kind of design, try it, see how it fishes. I'll never forget when we were early into owning of the business and going out and kind of playing with some different colors. We actually have a chartreuse and black small shad profile. We designed a new color, and we went up to Big Creek, and we were just fishing off the handicap fishing dock there, and there were probably 4 or 5 folks up there fishing that evening, and it was the first time we'd even put this bait in the water, and my daughter literally was catching a fish one right after another. Wow. And there's this gentleman was on the other end of the dock. He comes over, he's like, "What are you guys using? What are you using?" He's like, "Oh," she's like, "You'll have to talk to my dad. It's a new bait that he just made up." And it was pretty cool to see something that we created literally earlier in the day, and we took out on the water, and we were out fishing guys that were using live bait, that were using small little flicker shads or what have you, and we were landing 12, 13-inch crappies off the handicap pier. And then she gave him all the fish, which was pretty cool. So, but one thing that we like to do, we're all about giving product and letting people try stuff. So, any order that people place with us, typically we throw in sample packs of multiple different things, kind of reflective against the base order, so that you can get a flavor of a different type of bait. That it's kind of like going down to the fireworks dealership, and they you buy a bag of fireworks and they throw in some freebies, and that's kind of what we do as well. So
that's pretty cool, man.
And it's been well received.
That's good. What would you say, like, is I guess you can say, what would be like the top lure sales wise, or maybe top 3 that you see a lot of fishermen request, purchase, and have a lot of success with?
Wow. We have a lot. So, I mean, obviously, it's kind of reflective against the season, of course. Yep. Not only do we offer a full scale lineup of open water plastics, but we also have, ice plastics. We've got eight custom profiles in our ice plastics, and they range, I think we've got 23 colors deep in all 8 profiles.
Wow.
That's a huge lineup. When we go to our shows, that display typically spans across about a 14, almost 16 foot wide by 5 foot tall racking system that carries all of our ice fishing bait. So we have some great profiles in that. Open water, I would say, if you're pan fishing and going for crappies and bluegill, we've got our bullets, which are fishing assault bullets. It's a small shad body type profile with a tapered tail. I'm going to show one here.
Gotcha. So just so everybody's wondering and listening, if you haven't seen fishing assault, it just looks like a shad. It's shad shaped with the tail and everything. It's pretty cool. And the one what color is that? Is that reddish with what kind of?
This is a brand new color. This is actually our assault apple with glitter bomb belly. So we haven't even, one of our pro staff or field reps wanted us to start shooting that. So out of a courtesy, I shot some up, and now everybody's going crazy for them. So we'll be running some production on those here pretty soon, and hopefully adding them to the site. So
nice.
Little sneak peek though.
Right. We might have to get some of that, Kit.
And I was gonna say, I don't think I've seen that color before.
Yeah. So then this is our tracer. So this is more of a minnow style presentation with a split tail. So it has a side to side motion, but it also has the vertical presentation of the tail fluttering in the water. So both of those bait presentations can be, cast and retrieve. They can be slow trolled. I know we do a lot of trolling. Early summer, we'll troll over along little rocky piers and things like that. And we use a lot of the bullets. And I tell you what, the durability, but also the action on those, we do very, very well catching even the stripers and as well as crappie. So
yeah. I have to agree in regards to the durability after our use with it. And even my brother-in-laws out there in Colorado, they've used it and everything. They wholeheartedly agree. Like the plastic that you guys create there, you don't just catch one fish and then it rips half, because there's a lot of plastics that does that, and you have to this thing, you're right. Your guys is top quality in regards to your plastics. Definitely, I've noticed.
Well, we appreciate that. I mean, that's the feedback that we, continue to try to improve against our processes to make the best value products that we can. And ultimately there's two different types of fishermen that we typically are catering to. We've got the weekend warriors that are going out with their kids and they want to have a successful fishing outing, and they don't want to break the bank. So the everyday baits that we produce, are a great value for the durability, but also the action. You're not sacrificing, the function of that bait presentation. Then we have some different types of applications that are maybe softer profiles, that are maybe more designed for your tournament type fishermen. We have different durometers of plastics when we're, shooting those types of baits. So just to kind of give you an idea, I'll show you off one of the molds as far as, and I'm just going to kind of show you. Those are our tracer molds.
Nice.
So they are essentially a multi-cavity mold, which allows me to get our plastisol up to functional temperature. And then we actually extrude those hot plastics into our molds and allows them to cool to form that shape. So, it's something that the sky's the limit on on the types of molds that are available to you. There's a lot of guys that are working towards making custom bait profiles, which are great. A lot of times when you do that, there's a tremendous amount of initial overhead cost. So a lot of these molds are readily available per se, but they have very functional outcomes when people fish them. So,
all right. So here's my question. So, like, open water plastics is a fairly common thing, but I feel like with ice fishing, plastics are, they're starting to catch on now, but there's the diehard live bait guys. So what would you say to those guys to convince them to, try out this plastic? Admittedly,
sure.
I don't use a huge amount of plastics when I ice fish, but I occasionally dabble with it. But so, like, let's say the diehard live bait guys for ice fishing.
I think honestly, what has to happen is people just need to understand there's a time and a place, and obviously, some days they want meat. They're not wanting a chunk of plastic. But if you can start to figure into your fishing style or technique, when is it appropriate to start introducing plastics, and do it in a situation where you're going to have good success. Don't go to a brand new body of water and think you're going to plug, you're going to pop a few holes and drop down and you're going to start landing fish. If you're on fish and you're catching fish with live bait, slowly transition over to your plastic profiles and see if your hookup ratios drop off or if they start to pick up. One benefit with plastics is the fact that, once you've landed or hooked a fish, you don't have to constantly reset bait. You're right back on top of them. With JB's fish sauce and all of our plastics being infused with scent profiles, it helps mask that human scent and human odor, as well as environmental odors off of your bait, which may be the one deciding factor as to if a fish is going to actually engage in a strike. Some of the other profiles that we have within JB's as well, with our wax worm and some of the bait fish and Fantastic. We're kind of steering off from fishing assault, but those products work hand in hand with plastics, and they do very, very well in increasing your hook set opportunities. So I think ultimately what it comes down to is building confidence. If you don't have confidence in what you're fishing, how are you ever going to be successful out on the ice or open water? You put forth that effort and you kind of learn your techniques. A lot of times folks, when they're fishing with plastics, is they outfish the bait. This plastic has exceptional movement. The finest little twitch of your hand, the vibrations that go down your line will actually generate a significant amount of movement within that bait presentation, which will generate strikes. That's one of our biggest selling techniques that we use when we go to ice fishing shows, is we will actually take a fish tank, and I have little cheap rods that I've just made up with poplar dowel rods, and I let people play with them in the tanks. And it doesn't take them very long before they're like, holy cow, our ice spikes or the ice paddles or some of the other different profiles, just playing with those and watching what kind of movement happens at your wrist and what kind of movement that generates on that bait presentation is huge. Oftentimes you get guys that are just jigging like crazy. You're taking all of the natural fluid motion of that bait out of its presentation, and nothing in the natural environment is going to present like that. So, maybe to get them to come up and show interest, but once you see them coming up on your Vexilar or on your electronics, slow down that presentation and let that bait start to move. So.
No, I like that. That makes sense. Like next time when you go out, use live bait and then slowly transition to the plastic and just see if I like that. If you get more action or more hookup sets. So I like
Sure.
that. Well, I'll have to try that more during ice season.
Sure. And I've been very fortunate to be able to fish with some really great ice fishermen and women. And, those are some techniques that they've shown me even along the way. I'm far from a great fisherman by any means. I enjoy it a great deal. I enjoy making bait. And I think that's probably one of the things that I find the most satisfaction from is being able to put my labor of love into making bait, and then having people post pictures and their success stories using our products. Gives me a great deal of joy to see that. So,
yeah, that's pretty cool. Speaking of that, what's the process of making a plastic lure? Like, okay, so there's swim baits and all this stuff that you guys create and everything. What's the initial process? Because people wonder. I wondered, like, okay, how the hell do you guys get the plastic to be this soft and all that, and get into the mold and all that stuff? Do you mind?
So there are about 4 major plastisol distributors across the United States, and they make a variance of different types of durometer of plastisol. Plastisol is nothing more than the plastic which artificial lures or baits are made out of.
Okay.
Ironically enough, when it comes in, it's about the consistency of milk. It's really pretty crazy. And in fact, you mix it up and you get all the different additives kind of work together, and the hardeners and the softeners and what have you. And we cook it up to temperature, and there's a heat transfer that happens where it congeals over from a liquid, and then it turns to a gel, and then it turns back to a liquid. Once it's completed that process, then when it cools down, it's like our plastics that we use for fishing. So when it goes through that chemical transfer, it's obviously an elevated temperature, so you have to handle this stuff with caution. There's horror stories of people that shoot baits and they don't use the necessary safety precautions that are really required, and they end up getting hurt very badly. Second and third degree burns I unfortunately have burnt myself one time, and that was one time too much. And it was a situation where I was in a hurry. Normally I wear very high grade heat type gloves. And I was mixing up some plastic. I threw it in the microwave to get it up to operating temp, and it was a remelt or remix. So it was already one that had made that transformation to a firm plastic. And then by heating it back up, it liquefies again. Well, it liquefies at different rates. So think about kind of like stabbing into a marshmallow and the center is full of liquid. That's kind of what happened. So when I stuck my mixing rod through, it actually it spilled over the side and landed on my bare finger, which resulted in a pretty nasty burn. So, but normally that doesn't happen. I mean, I take precautions and I'm very careful of making sure that I'm not putting myself in any risk or any harm's way. So once that change happens, then that's when I start adding in different colors. So if I want to do a watermelon red, I've got different recipes. In fact, I've got a binder that's full of recipes. I also have a cork board that we have demonstrations of different types of baits that we make. So I have a sample, I have in a bag, and then I also have our recipes right there. So at any point in time when Kendra says you need to make 50 bags of watermelon red assault worms, I just go over, I grab my recipe. I've got my original bait profile from when we first started drafting up or making these recipes and these different color specs. So that way we have consistency. How many times have you guys been to the store? You buy the big box chain stuff, and from one bag to the next, there's a huge variance of color, and that's I feel personally that consistency and fishermen come to expect a quality product, that you need to make sure that you're providing that. So I pride myself on trying to make my first bag the exact same as my last bag in its color presentation. And by having those little remnants available, so that when we are making and mixing up fresh batches, I can make sure that I'm spot on with those colors. So then once the colors, been set, I might add the fleck that we need. Obviously watermelon red, we get our base color. Then I start adding in all the different fleck. That fleck I then mix in, and it spins a little bit within within our Pyrex cups. So we slowly stir those every once in a while to keep that fleck kind of elevated up in the plastic, or if you could say like a water column, it keeps it elevated so it's not settling to the bottom. Then we have different extruders, and those extruders can be very small. This is a very small extruder.
Okay.
So if you can think about like a marinating injector, that's kind of what these are. They have a rod that with a plunger system that we draw the plastic up, and then there's a small cone on the bottom, and that's where the plastic comes out of. So we have those from three ounces all the way up to, I think, 13 ounce single shot injector, and then my dual shot injectors. So when I do my laminates or two-tone colors, that way I don't have to hit, mix different plastics up at different rates. I just run those mixes through my shooting star. So, cool. And then we essentially run those into the molds, and the operating temperature is about 315 to 330 degrees, depending upon once you have that plastic already cured out or having that chemical change that happens. You shoot it into the molds and you let it cool. And then we start demolding those. And once we demold, if you can see those ones that we have behind me, once again, I've got some the new daggers that we have, and those are just hanging and curing out. So usually they will hang for about 24 hours before we then de-sprue those, and then we start looking at the marinating process. And then the baits sit in JB's fish sauce, and that marinades into the plastics. It absorbs that in, it takes that scent profile, and then they go into packaging from there. So, one thing that's a little unique, and not to say we're the only company out there, but we try to control all aspects of our fabrication and our processes. As I already alluded to, we make all of our own apparel, but we also do all of our own packaging. So we do all of our labels. So we have a commercial label printer, so we can essentially redesign a label at any time. If you remember, we had made up some custom labels for MAPA for some of the profiles that we had made up for you guys. So that gives us flexibility, and I think being fluid in that regard allows us to be kind of dynamic, and we can change depending upon what the market needs are. So one kind of cool thing that I have also done, I'm kind of a tinkerer. So, a lot of things are out there that people, big companies are making and they sell. If I can make it myself, I try to do it myself. So they have these, what they call chili plates, or they go in between your molds and they allow your molds to cool off faster. So I actually made chilling plates on my own, and I bought just bar stock aluminum, and I drilled those all out, and I put a fountain pump in a 5-gallon bucket with actually a beer fermentation coil.
Nice.
And that's what runs my chiller.
Yeah.
And I can run circulated cool water through these molds, so that as I'm shooting high run bait production, some of these molds can start getting upwards to 250, 300 degrees pretty quick.
Wow.
By running those, I can keep my operating temperature of my molds down, and I never have to wait for my molds to set up. I also work in the hospital, and right next to my office is the oncology and chemo suites. Well, a lot of those medications come frozen. So they have disposable coolers that they ship the stuff in, and then they have the little ice packs. Yeah. Well, all these ice packs were ending up in the landfill. So I started talking with the cleaning company. I said, when you guys see those, grab them for me, and I'll take them. Mm-hmm. So my chilling plate setup, literally, I've got probably $50 invested in it, and I saved a lot of that bad stuff from going in our landfills. So
that's cool. No, that's good recycling idea. I love it. And
that's right.
That process that you just explained, holy shit, I had no idea that it entailed that much work. And no, it's pretty impressive though. I had no idea, man. This episode was helped brought to you by our newest sponsor, Kalona Brewing Company. They're a brewery out there in Eastern Iowa. So if you're in the area, make sure to stop by Kalona and check out their brewery. Great food at the restaurant there, great beer, obviously. If you're in the Midwest, check out any Hy-Vees. I believe they carry the 6-packs, and they have different types of flavors. So you guys are going to want to, definitely try that out. And I think throughout this whole process, Fishing Kid and myself for Beer Fish Fanatics, we're going to be doing some giveaways here and there. If you guys can go ahead and tag us here and there with your Kalona beer. So other than that, enjoy the episode, guys.
Yeah. So, and that's, like I said, that's the easy part. So Kendra does all the hard part. She's the one that is putting labels on bags. She's the one that's loading and counting out and making sure that all the bags have the right quantities in there. So that was another step that we were really having a difficult time with, being able to fill product bags quickly, because when they're marinated in the JB's fish sauce, they kind of want to stick together. They all stay together. And you don't want to touch that, because then you get all of your hands. So we actually have cookie release, the what you'd lay in a cookie tray when you're making cookies, those quick release Teflon trays. Ooh. We've bought a whole bunch of those, and we lay those out on our workspace. And then I took a diesel exhaust fuel filter, or like one of the funnels, and I cut it, and I call it her urinal, and that's what she runs the bait right through, and then she drops it in. So she can crank out some baits and get it into the bag pretty fast. So, but that's the tedious process when it comes to the manufacturing and bagging of product. So
okay. So just to recap, so what's the time frame from when your plastic's that milky whatever substance to basically when it's ready to fish? What's the time frame for that?
Well, I mean, it kind of depends. Like I said, that day that we went up and we fished up at Big Creek, I mean, we literally shot plastics, and within 45 minutes we were out on fishing. I mean, a brand new color. Now, that was just for PR purposes and just trying, the testing of a new color. When we actually set forth and we are producing a color for resale, a production run color. The process, typically from start to finish, you've got about 24 to 28 hours from when we actually shoot product to when it's bagged and ready and hanging on the shelf ready to go. And it's not full manpower on time, but from start to finish, that's about what it takes. Now, if I were to shoot a package of, say, 100 bags of plastic, that might take me 2.5 hours to shoot that. But then they have to cure. So they'll hang for, overnight, and then we desprue those. Then they marinate, and then they go into bagging. So it's kind of it varies from one bait profile to the next. Larger baits obviously absorb more JB's fish sauce than the smaller baits do. But we have, kind of back to the recycling component. My aunt worked at a restaurant down in Missouri, and they had huge ice cream tubs. So they just gave me all their old ice cream tubs, and that's what we use for marinade tanks. So when we run from one color to the next, we'll be marinating, in all these different tubs, and that's what we then transfer through to go start packaging. So
cool. I had to grab another beer, guys, by the way. I'm doing the lubricator, by the way. So
there you go.
Gotta get nice and lubed. Cheers.
I'm still working on my tall boy here.
Actually, we were talking offline before we got on really quick. Can you explain? Okay, because you told me a couple months ago about the shooting star thing, this machine that it's a game changer. Can you explain it and show us it real quick, if you don't mind? I'm just I'm curious about that thing.
So the shooting star is it's a bait mold maker system that is designed by Ultra Molds, and it's a company that they actually have mixing pots. It has an arbor that spins, and it's kind of like me using the knife and mixing up the fleck. Okay. This system does it all. So I can control my temperatures, but it also allows me to shoot the two-tone baits in one shot instead of having a dual injector and having to pull product out of, say, two different Pyrex cups. So all of these guys here, you can see, these are all two-tone baits.
Okay.
If anybody follows us at Fishing Assault on Facebook or goes to our website, all of those new two-tone crappie baits in the bullets and tracers are listed on the site. Those are all shot using this exact system. Mm-hmm. So let me flip the camera here. So this is a shooting star.
Okay.
So you can see we have a left pot. Mm-hmm. And that's ran by its own control system. So I can gauge or set in my you can see I just turn the unit on. So I can dial in my temperatures.
Wow. For
the left pot. I can dial the temperature in for the right pot. And then they have these big mixing paddles that run off these motors. Mm-hmm. And that just keeps the plastics mixed up all the time. So say if I'm shooting stick baits or salt bugs or something that I want high salt content in, that helps keep the salt suspended in the plastic so that when I shoot it, it's evenly distributed throughout the bait. So those will spin at a variance of RPMs. So it has been a game changer. What used to be like when I'd shoot my baby bass assault worms, that process would take a great deal of time. I can shoot probably 7-1 with the shooting star.
Wow.
I mean, it has cut my time. It's a game changer. So, gotcha. and they're pretty expensive, but it's an investment back into their business. And it really came down to the fact where, it was getting to the point where we were busy enough that we had to make a decision. Are we going to invest into this business to make it run better and be bigger than what it is now? Mm-hmm. Or are we at a point where it's becoming such a time consumer, we need to walk away? Mm. And then that's when we ultimately made the decision to go ahead and purchase one. So
makes sense. Now, on those machines and everything, because is there like leftover plastics and stuff in there? And then I'm just curious, how do you clean that? Does it harden, or I mean,
it does harden.
Okay.
It does, and there's like when I'm changing colors.
Yeah.
I do a complete strip down on that, and I clean out all the different little ports and make sure that I don't have any legacy or residual plastics in there, because I don't want to cloud or compromise my next run.
Yeah.
And once again, it still comes back down to taking the extra time and taking pride in the product that you're producing. A lot of guys don't clean them out. They just dump new plastic in and away they go. And you'll see that periodically in other folks' baits sometimes, where you'll have a straggler color fleck in a bait that's not supposed to have fleck in it. So I don't like that. I like my lateral lines to be perfectly straight. I like everything to be crisp and clean. And I know it's not so much that the fish care, but it comes back down to the fact that you want to make a quality product and be proud of what you're doing. So
I can respect that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But yeah, it's a time-consuming process when you're shifting from color to color. But like I run 16 cups of plastic at a time now. So before I was heating up 2 cups of plastic and shooting bait, and 2 cups of plastic and shooting bait. Now it's like when I'm ready to run, that peg system up here, this will be full all the way across. I mean, that will be. In fact, I can shoot. With the bullets and tracers, I can shoot 128 bags of each profile in one setting.
Wow.
And then I on a weekend between myself and my brother, or if my son's over here helping or what have you, it's kind of a family affair once again. We might shoot 3 different color profiles. So at any given time, we could be popping through 3 to 4 gallons of plastic in one day. And then the next day we're bagging stuff, or Kendra's, working on that process along the way. So
I guess this is for our listeners that don't have a visual. Are you in your basement, or is this your garage?
I am in my basement. So because of the fumes of what plastisol typically emits, you need to have a highly ventilated area. If anybody was to ever start dabbling in making their own baits, or even attempting to get into a business environment making baits, first and foremost, it's a very time-consuming process. It takes a lot of money. It takes a lot of money on the startup, because molds are not cheap. I mean, they range. Some of my molds are almost $400 a piece. So those are things that people don't figure into cost when they buy one bag of bait. It's $250 a bag. Well, that $250 helps pay for those molds and helps pay for our upkeep and on all that stuff. But nevertheless, kind of going back to your question, if somebody's going to do this, they need to be in a highly ventilated area, in which I have 2 vent hoods that when I'm mixing plastic, it's directly underneath that vent hood and it pipes it right outside. So.
Yeah, I've seen on YouTube people making because they put the gas mask on and everything. It's like, dang, I had no idea, but it makes sense though. I mean, you with plastic is heating up and it's chemicals all mixed, so
yeah,
definitely.
And really, what it comes down to, it's the conditioners. So the plastisol itself alone has different durometer states, I guess you could say. Some plastics are really firm. Some are very soft. Plastisol is actually used in a multitude of different applications. A lot of the foams that are used in your carpet are made with plastisols. Bumpers for cars are made with plastisol. I mean, the tool dips that everybody thinks about, dip the handle, and that's a form of plastisol. I'm very fortunate that my distributor is very close. And we've got a great relationship. Whenever we go down, he takes us through the plant. We shoot the breeze for a while. Just a great another small business, but it's neat to be able to see the process and give feedback to say, hey, I need this to be like this, can you help me? And then we develop some different strains of plastic that may be more suitable than others, or recommendations on how we get our plastics to perform differently than, say, somebody else's. So
yeah. I just quick question, so what makes some of the plastics out there, and whatever plastics, it rips so easily and then others are longer? Is there does it cost more or something to make the plastic? You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes when the fish you catch one fish and it's done.
Durability.
Sure. Yeah, durability.
So
sorry.
Yes.
All right, Kit. Durability.
Some of those, once again, and like I said earlier in the podcast here was, we make baits that kind of tailor to both the tournament angler, but also the weekend warrior. The tournament guys, they might go through 75 to 100 Cincos in a tournament, and they don't even think twice about it. Yeah. Where a weekend warrior, if they blow through a bag of 10 of them and they're tearing out, they're ticked off, because the value added, where is the value at? The angler that's going for a paycheck, they don't care, because that tear in one Cinco might be the deciding factor on if they get a fish to hit the hook or not. So it is a real fine balance between finding a plastic that performs with the durability factor, but also has that natural movement or that fluidness. And that's where I have spent a lot of time kind of crafting my blends to meet that requirement.
Gotcha.
But everybody has a different flavor and kind of a different expectation. You go buy the finesse worms at Walmart that are on the bottom shelf that are floating plastic, and it's like a pencil. I mean, they're so firm,
right?
But
Agreed.
it is what it is, and some people have good success with that, some don't. But I think people get a confidence level built with a certain expectation within their plastics and the bait that they use, and that's what they tend to gravitate to. So I would hands down say I would put my Cincos up next to about any major company out there, and I would say the durability factor, as well as the fluidness in that motion, is equal to, if not better.
Well,
I'm kind of biased though.
Actually, your Cincos are the only Cincos that I use. I mean, granted, I'm not the biggest bass fisherman on earth, but when I go bass fishing, I just like, okay, I'm put on this fishing assault worm. I don't even call it Cincos. That's how much bass fishing I do.
It's a worm.
We don't call them Cincos either. They're assault worms.
Right. There you go. We don't call them Cincos. We're like, what's a Cinco? It's a worm.
So
where did that word come from anyways? Cinco.
Cincos?
Yeah.
I don't know if it had something to do with some of the manufacturers out there. That's what they branded it off as. Obviously, Gary Yamamoto's, they're Cincos. They're trademarked on some of that stuff. So I don't know the history behind that. I should, but I don't.
All right, we're gonna do this. Any listener, follower, give us the reading behind Cinco. I'll send you guys a Beer Fish Fanatics koozie, and I'll send them also a plastic from Fishing Assault. So if somebody can explain where the heck Cinco came from, the first person who does that, who comments on the YouTube channel and everything, I'll send them something.
There you go.
I don't know. I don't want to Google it. I'm too lazy.
Yeah, plastic worm is what I call it, because that's exactly what it is.
It is. All right, so
there's all different types of plastic worms. So
that's true.
I know, right? So how many of you guys are actively fishing Ned rigs right now?
Right now or last year?
Or just in general? I mean, is that a bait presentation that you guys go for?
I actually so Fishing Kit myself, we don't fish for largemouth bass. Last year, I would say last 2 years, I've actually attempting and I've tried, and I've actually been successful. Last year was the first year I've actually, in my whole fishing life, I've tried using a Ned rig, and it freaking worked. I forgot what lake or pond I was. It was local in Altoona, and it almost was every cast. My cousin was with me, and he was like, "What the heck are you using?" My cousin Jimmy, he was right next to me. He's like, "What are you using that?" I was getting every bite, and it was the Ned rig. It was a Ned rig, and I was like, first time I ever tried it. And then I kid you not, every time I go back to that same pond, that's the only freaking lure I try, obviously.
Yeah. Well, and there's a lot of guys, and there's some great YouTube videos out there right now. Guys that are fishing Ned rigs for walleye, and they will slow troll Ned rigs 1.1, 1.2 miles an hour. And they usually use just a standard dead rig jig, but they're holding it high enough in the water column that either they're going to hit smallmouth or they're going to hit walleyes. And they do very, very well. Corey and I went up to Mille Lacs and we actually fished up there. And we caught quite a few walleye, and he caught some pretty nice smallmouth bass too. But it's just kind of changing up your mindset on how you target different species and what bait works for different occasions. We've got our assault bugs, which are essentially a cross style type lure that can be fished 5 different ways. All of our plastics are floating based plastics, so when you're popping that jig, it's going to stand straight up, and you got, all the little tentacles and all the legs that are popping out. And, that allows those bass that are cruising the weed lines, they come down and hit it, so we're always trying to find, new presentations, new molds, or profiles that we feel would have a strong following from our local, market. And folks that we're so gracious that they support what we do and allows us to, continue to do the things that we do. But even, in other states that are actively buying products as well, trying to find baits that are kind of commonplace, I guess you could say. We've actually recently started dabbling a little bit. I've got a new 3D printer, so I'm going to be playing with some prototype designs here pretty soon, and we'll see what comes from that. So
make sure to let us know.
Yeah, that's just kind of it just kind of illustrates how things morph. What started off as a small little thing, now we've got our own bag production, we've got our printing, we've got a 3D printer, we're working on prototypes. And but that's the thing. I think, we're very blessed and very fortunate to live in the United States that gives us the freedoms to do what we want. And, that's one of the things that I tried to explain to my son was, anything you put your mind to, you can do. The only person that's going to put limitations on you is yourself. And if you can go at anything that you do with that approach, you can be successful. And, sometimes we fail, sometimes we don't get quite the results that we're looking for, but nevertheless, it was a learning opportunity and we continue to grow from it. So
nice.
Yeah, that's a good message.
When do you ever get out to fish, man?
I don't, not nearly as much as I want to. So Kendra was just telling me she's having a garage sale this weekend. So I don't know if anybody saw her post come through. I actually have a business meeting this weekend that I have to go to for my real job, but Sunday I might try to get out and fish a little bit, and then next week and we'll be heading down to Red Rock, try to hit some of those big Red Rock slab crappies. In fact, I ran into you, Kit, out there last year, didn't I?
Yep, out at well, I don't want to drop the name, but in that cove.
That one cove. So.
Yeah, I remember seeing man, this boat's come flying toward me, what's going on here? And it's like, oh, It's Clayton.
Yeah, I saw your truck parked down there on the beach kind of, and I was like, that's Kit. We'll head over and say hi. So
right. But. So yeah, speaking of fishing, so what is your target species, Clayton?
I personally, because of the fact that I have limited amount of time to fish, and I am one that I harvest a lot of what I catch, permitting that it's a species of choice. My ultimate is crappie and walleye. Those are what I target. My son, on the other hand, when I sold my bass boat and I got a crappie or a walleye boat, he was very upset. So my fishing style has changed a great deal over the years. And, as I have kind of, I guess, started to relax a little bit more in my life, I'm all about sitting under the bimini top with the iPilot going, and I got 6 lines out and I'm slow trolling. Got a beer in my hand and we're just sitting back waiting for drag to start pulling. So
right.
Where Cooper would rather be, cruising shoreline and flipping up to the shore and trying to catch the ditch pickles. But so
Hey, when he can afford a boat, he can choose what boat.
That's exactly right. So, but no, I'd say that's probably, I enjoy that. And I think my passion really comes down more towards the crappie, just for the fact that, a lot of my business and being a little bit more creative in color profiles, tend to gravitate more in the panfish community than they do in your bass fishermen. You got a lot of the natural tones and things like that in bass fishing, where I can be a little more creative. So.
Yeah, if there was a color out of your lineup, what color, like if you had to pick one color for crappies, what color would it be?
You, by the way.
So it is a brand new color, and I can't say that it's effective yet because I haven't even had a chance to fish it yet. But it's our new Arctic Rain.
Ooh.
So if you can see that, it's a pearl belly with a blue, and it has a very micro fine purple fleck and black fleck on the top. I think for the fact that it could be fished in overcast, or it could be fished on a sunny day. It has a close enough lateral line and color hue that would match any type of shad. And I think it would work really phenomenal. So I'm excited to get out and fish that one here probably next weekend. So that'll be one of the target baits that I'll be starting off with, and then we'll make adjustments along the way. So
Okay.
I might have to put an order in that thing. So people are listening. It looks pretty like that's gonna catch some fish. I can almost guarantee you that. That's pretty badass.
yeah.
Yes.
So
Yeah, so as of this recording, we'll probably release this in like 2 or 3 weeks, I would say.
Yeah.
We're coming up on the crappie spawn.
It'll be perfect.
So
yeah.
yeah.
most definitely. So this right here is the one I was saying that my daughter and I made.
Oh.
And that one there is actually called Twisted Sister.
Yep. Love it.
And that has been a go-to bait, and has worked very well. And then another new one that I'm excited to fish is actually called our Twisted X. And it's
Ooh. It's like a black and pinkish. Is that pink kind of?
Yep, but it also has a blue shimmer powder. So the belly, depending upon how you can see that.
Oh
yeah.
Yeah.
So depending upon how the light reflections are permeating through the water column, you'll get that blue hue that will pop out occasionally too. So that's another one that I'm excited to fish. So we were fortunate enough when we were at the Ice Institute in Sioux Falls, South Dakota this last year, had the opportunity to speak and talk with DH Custom Rods.
Mm-hmm.
And we worked and kind of came up with some pretty cool profiles, and we're in both DH North and South shops. We've got 15 custom colors in their shop. And those are a couple of them. So
nice. Yeah, that was pretty cool. How the sun the light will reflect pretty cool on that one.
Yeah. So you don't see a lot of that kind of that hue powder is what they classify, or high-low powder.
Gotcha.
Okay.
So you don't get out and test out these, because you can make an excuse to say, Kendra, kids, I gotta go and test for like 5 hours.
It's not so much Kendra. It's my day job that affects.
Gotcha.
So my day job, I'm an orthotist, so I specialize in kids. I reshape their heads. So I fit helmets for kids with deformational plagiocephaly. So
yeah, that's pretty cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's your go-to walleye, since you said walleye is your other favorite species?
Yeah, I'm starting to do the Ned rigs, and having some pretty good success on those. We also have a small 3.5 ripper swim bait, which I believe Mawpaw picked up some of that. So you guys, will get a flavoring of that in some of your guys' offerings. So those are a good profile. We also have a 3-inch twister tail grub, which if you're, depending upon type of year, those can be pretty successful too. We do a lot of bottom bouncers. That seems to be pretty effective as well. We haven't had a great opportunity to get out and fish a whole lot. My boat last year at our family reunion camp out decided to go on the fritz, and I don't know if my water pump pulled some sand when I was beached, but I just got the lower unit rebuilt, and I got it on the muffs over the weekend, and it's been running pretty good. So hopefully we don't have boat problems this year, and we can put more time in on the water. So,
right.
But
you can always get a kayak.
Yeah, I was gonna make my case for a kayak here.
I know, right? we Kendra and I have kayaks, and it was a purchase that was made when we were younger and probably in a lot better shape than we are now. So, we have put in over at the soccer fields over on the river, and we've tried to paddle up towards the dam and come back. And we've done that a couple times, but we take it down and we kayak at the family reunion as well. It's a week-long camping fishing trip that we do every year. I think we're on our 37th year this year.
Wow.
So that sounds fun.
I know.
Yeah, we have on average about 50 of us that camp for a week. So it's a lot of fun. With COVID last year, changed things up quite a bit. We were still able to get together, but not in the same capacity. We went down to Rathbun. Normally we're down in Macon, Missouri. Let's see here. So here is our black and blue salt bug. And I'll just pull one out so you guys can see and kind of talk through. It's like a savage craw, but essentially you've got, the ribbed body. You have, 3 legs on each side. Essentially, as it sits through the water, it's landing like this. You can split this back. Okay, you can see that. So then those will stand up on their own. You can go farther and split even. So it's kind of hard to see that, but so that's probably one of my, for flipping, and jigging. This is probably one of my number one profiles that I enjoy fishing. I don't fish a whole lot of bass, but Coop does, and he loves it. And our assault worms too are probably, from a durability standpoint, I think the best value. And everybody can catch bass with Senkos or salt bugs or worms. I mean, so
I think that's why I use them.
But like I said, the Ned rigs are gaining in popularity. This is our midnight munchie. I don't know if you guys can.
Yeah, you can see that's pretty cool.
So it's actually it's a swirl. And it's black with kind of a June bug with green fleck. Those are pretty popular. And we have those in the Senkos or the assault worms. We also have those in Ned rigs. So, it's like I said, it's endless what we can make. I have folks all the time that reach out and say, hey, can you shoot a custom color for me? And I can, as long as it's, it's a high enough volume. If it's one bag, it's not really worth my time. I mix up more plastic and waste it than I do, based off of what I'm getting paid for them. So,
right.
I would, another thing that, aside from the chilling plates that I was talking about, another thing that has made my life so much easier is I actually ran a pneumatic vise. So I have a huge air compressor out in my garage, and I just piped in with 1/4-inch plastic like water line for your ice maker all the way out to my garage, and it runs my air vise now. So if you guys, let me see here. If anybody has ever worked around air vices, I'm sure they will recognize this noise. But so I set my molds in there.
Oh,
whoa.
So the old days, this is what I would vice molds together with. So by the time I got done shooting, I don't know, 10 cups of plastic, my hands were cramping just from using those vices. So
Yeah.
To be able to run a pneumatic air vise, it's really increased my productivity exponentially. So
that's pretty cool.
We make advancements along the way all the time. Always trying to find new ways and better ways of doing things. So
Yep. No, that's pretty cool. I'm gonna have to get Kit on to Ned rigs this year. So I don't know if he's ever used a Ned rig because I told you he doesn't really fish for bass. So see him out. I'll get you some, Kit. Don't worry.
Okay.
We'll get you.
Okay, before we get too far, I've been in the back of my mind like, Ned rig. What? Okay, so what are they talking about? So what's the difference between a Ned rig and let's say your regular assault worm? I know Ned rigs, they're typically shorter. Are you just taking that worm, cutting it in half, or is there certain specific plastics?
It's actually called the Midwest Finesse rig, is what the bait mold profile is. But it has its own mold. And these are, I don't know, the lighting's not really the best, but
it's okay.
Okay. So for those listening, it's basically like a shorter worm.
Yeah, it's just under 2 3/4 of an inch long.
And you got to use a special hook for it too, Kit. There's a Ned rig hook. Yeah.
You actually have to use a Ned rig hook. So, but that's what I'm saying. We were slow trolling with Ned rigs and Ned rig hooks, and we were catching walleye and smallmouth.
Nice.
So,
okay.
So, go ahead.
I'll get Kit on that this year. I'm going to make sure he catches something on that this year. He's going
to go.
Well, I know that crawlers is pretty popular with walleyes because it's one of their forage, and a Ned rig makes sense. They're kind of like worm-looking things, and you fish them pretty close to the bottom, if not on the bottom, right?
Well, like I said, we were pulling them up higher in the water column. I would say they were probably 8. We were in 16, 17 foot of water, and we were probably pulling through at maybe 8 to 10, and we were hitting them. So, but that body of water up there is, that's a whole different beast. I mean, it fishes completely different than anywhere else that we would be fishing local. So, there are a lot of guys that fish Ned rigs in the river though for walleye. So, and it's all kind of how you present it, and depending upon how heavy of a Ned rig jig or that you use, obviously you can bounce it and pop it up. And there's enough current that you're going to get it to rise up in the water column too. So
there you go. Well,
on to number 2.
Oh, number 2.
Nice.
So with the Ned rig jig, it's kind of like pointing up a little bit, isn't it?
Is that right? It's actually a completely flat nose, and it's got a bait keeper on it, and then the hook just comes. It's like that. So I don't know. It's like I wish I had one down here. I don't.
I got you, Kit. It's like it looks like a cap. Okay, so the top of it, the weight of it, it looks like a cap, like a baseball cap with no bill. Okay, that's exactly what it looks like. So imagine your hat right now with no bill. No, seriously. So that's the weight, and then the hook, and then you have something and then they have the little bait hook, that keeps the rig on. That's what it is.
So when it's in the water, it kind of points up, right? Like
pretty much
the Ned.
Yeah.
The Ned part, is that the Ned part?
I don't know.
Is that what the worm's called? Is it called a Ned, or is the jig called a Ned?
Is it called Ned? I don't know. Is it called a Ned? I don't know.
It's called the Ned.
Okay.
There you go, man. Oh man, too funny, dude.
Hey, I'm pretty sure there's like 2 listeners that don't know that.
I'm with you. I told you. I caught fish last year with it. That was the first time I actually tried with it. So I'm getting you on it this year, man. So we'll make it happen, man.
Yeah. One of my buddies, Addy. Yeah. All he throws is Ned rig. We're in the river. Ned rig. We're at a lake. Ned rig. He caught a crappie on a Ned rig, and we call him Ned Rig Addy.
Ned Rig. Oh, shout out to Addy. Ned Rig Addy.
I don't think he knows that we call him that, but if he's listening now, he knows.
Too funny. Oh man! All
but
right,
he's catching fish though, isn't he?
He is.
That's true. Can't complain about that when you catch fish, man.
Right.
Other than that, man, I mean, holy cow, dude, we've been talking for over an hour. I have learned a lot about plastics. I mean, I honestly, I had no idea the whole process and everything that's, entails behind it. So that's pretty cool. Kit, you got anything else for Clayton just before he leaves or we take off? Because we've been talking for over an hour. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So, Clayton, if our audience wants to contact you, or if they want to order some baits, where can they go? Where can they get a hold of you?
So they can go follow us on Facebook first and foremost. We're also on Instagram. So it's just Fishing Assault. And then our actual website is at www.fishingassault.com. And we have our full lineup of all of our bait. We have apparel that's available for purchase as well. So we can customize things. We can do all kinds of different stuff. So definitely swing on over, check out our site. Give us a like on Facebook and Instagram, and we'd love the opportunity to win some business from local folks, but as well as folks across the United States. So
cool, man. Thank you so much, Clayton, for the information and the time that you really helped explain stuff to us, because like I said, we had no idea what goes behind that. And then on top of that, I think, like I said, you guys got an amazing product there. So everybody go check them out. We'll definitely put the links to everything in the show notes. And then on top of that, don't forget, tell us where the heck Cinco came from. Why is it not just called a freaking worm? And like I said, I'll send a Beer Fish Fanatics koozie. I'll send you guys comment below, and I'll also send a pack of fishing.
We'll throw in a couple packs of Ned rigs.
There you go, Neds. The Neds love it. So other than that, man, thank you so much, Clayton. I appreciate it, man.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, Clayton.